All right, so we are doing this new type of review here where we have a rubric that we're basing it off of. Not just subjective feelings, although they are subjective, not just arbitrary numbers of art, design, and gameplay. Today we now have a rubric that Karla developed for our feelings on a game. Now, what's also really cool about this new year and new review style, no longer we're against the shelf of games. By gosh, that's so 2016. We are, in fact, Legos. Whatever, doesn't matter. The point is this, though. We are taking a look at the games and we're breaking them down how you will feel about these games and some really heartbreaking decisions based on playing the games. Now, another really cool thing is that I have a special guest teacher coming in for probably 2 to 3 videos a month. This would be Karla. She is a much better teacher of games than I am, and she's laughing in the background as I said that. Gave her a total quota, but she is a much better teacher of games, even if she doesn't like learning the games that much. So, let's take a look at Age of Comics from Friendliest Games right now. All right, before we get going in the review, don't forget to get your Space Dice Tower shirt right now. These are the 2024 shirts, and we're available right now on the merch store with those. We've already got quite a few orders in already. Get your hoodie and your shirt right now.
All right, this is Age of Comics set up for 2 players. This is a lot going on, so I'm going to zoom in a little closer. All right, so there are 5 rounds, and you take turns based on the number of editor meeple you have, and each player takes 1 action, then the next player takes another action until the end of the round. Decks do not refill until the end of the round. So in the first action, I've already set it up for round 1. So this is the calendar, this is the era we're in. There are multiple actions you can take. The first action you can do is hire someone, which would mean that you go on over here to the sideboard. And on the sideboard, there are writers and there are artists. To hire a writer and an artist over here, you can either choose a face-up one or a face-down one, but you may only hire 1 and 1. You may not hire 2. You do not refill this until the next round. It's also important to note that you can't have more than 6 cards in your hand. If you had more than 6 cards in your hand, you could draw up and then discard after you see what's in your hand. The next action that you can take is available to us is the develop action. And on the develop action, you can add 1 original comic book card to your hand. That's over here too. You can choose among the face-up cards, or you can choose to pay $4 to select a genre of your choice. So if I wanted a red one, I could discard that and pay $4 for the one under it. Or maybe I wanted one further down, which means I'd have to pay, I would just discard these and pay $4 to get a different color. All right, the third action is the ideas. So this one's a little wonky. Say this yellow guy is here already. So he would have taken 2 tokens of his choice and then 2 from the supply. Now that I'm here, I can take 2 ideas of my choice and then, I can, see it's beside it. I may take 1 idea of my choice and then 2 from the supply. So say I've got this set up on my player board. I must play the writer, the artist, and the comic book. I will pay the resources as needed, which is the sum here. So that's $4. And then I have to pay 2 idea tokens of this genre. So I would pay 2 greens, and then I would take the corresponding mini comic for Future Wonder. Oops, these are a little tight on the board. So I would take Future Wonder, and I now own it, but now I add it to my chart over here. So if I'm the teal one, I will put it on 3 because it had 3 fans. 1, 2, 3. And then if I'm the first person to print a comic in the green genre, which I did, which I have the majority of printed comic books of that genre, I would also get the corresponding mastery token, which we have here, and would give me an extra fan right there and 2 victory points at the end of the game. So I got 1 fan because it was an original, a fan because of its creative artist. It's specialized in that genre, because this was the first one printed in this genre. So I have gained an extra fan, and that was a total of 3 fans. Talking about the royalties action, if you go here, you get $4. If you go here, you get 3 or 3. You can't play here in a 2-player game, so I'm not going to worry about it. And then the next space we have is here. This is called the sales action, which involves the cool little map over there. At the beginning of the round, because we are in the heart era, yay T Swift, we flipped up all the red ones over here on our map. So I can flip 3 and take 3. To move 1 space is free, so I can flip all 3 of these next to me, which you kind of know what's on the back of them because of the image on the back, and I can take up to 3. The next person would be able to take 2, and then somebody else could go there and also flip and take 2. You can pay money to move. I think it's $2 to move in a cab, and you can move more if you want, and you can break it up. Like I could move here, flip 1, move here, flip 1. So these are sales order tiles, and the back of them shows the genre requested by that specific location, and the front of a sales order shows the genre, which is the icon and the color, the minimum value of the comic book needed to fulfill that order, so this one would be a 5, and the number of fans that comic book will gain. To fulfill an order, I have to collect or have previously collected the sales order tile and have printed or print a comic book that satisfies the order requirements. The fans are gained, added to the comic book on the chart over here. So say I had a green one and go over here. I can add it immediately as soon as the comic book is printed, if it's already printed, or as soon as the comic book value increases and reaches the order requirement through creative. So once it hits here, I can collect that for a 5 green. So at the end of the round, you will first establish the rankings based on each of the top performing comic books on the chart and award victory points. In the case of a tie, the same victory point is given to both players. Players with 0 comics get 0 points. You pay out any earnings from all the comics on the charts. Example, this would get $2. Then you will establish turn order as the reverse of the ranking order on the chart. The last place person would be going first. So say Brown was down here and I was here, then I would go last. We would just switch those two. You subtract a fan from each mini comic book tile on the chart, except in the last round, so that bumps down. And then you pull back your workers and discard the remaining face-up cards over here and refill the table. The discarded cards are put back in the game as soon as the deck is depleted. So in-game scoring, fans at the end of round 5, count all the fans accumulated on the chart and subtract the fans of the unfilled orders if you have any. Recall at the end of round 5, comic books do not lose fans. Then the victory points accumulated, sum all the points accumulated through the game, tokens, mastery tokens, better color tiles, and all the extra victory points given by printing 5 comic books or more. Money is converted into victory points at a 4-to-1 ratio. $4 equals a point. Idea tokens are converted into victory points at a 4-to-1 ratio. 4 idea tokens is 1 point. And originals. Each original comic book gives 6 victory points if both creatives are specialized, and 4 victory points if only one is specialized, and 2 if none are specialized.
So a couple things about that. Now that's a brief overview. It does not teach every single rule as I normally do. We do not teach every single rule here. If you want that, go look at a how to play video or a watch it played video or something like that. A couple things to mention. There are the rip-off tokens that you can buy. You can just buy them and make them as your score. You can bump your score up using rip-offs. Now, that is one little rule we didn't mention in the teach there, but the rest of the bulk of the game is taught there. Now, let's talk as we look in concept. So concept is number 1. It is a 10 for me. This concept in this game is phenomenal. The idea of making golden age of comics, right? Stan Lee era and before is brilliant, right? You've got Alan Scott. You've got Jay Garrick. That is the era of comics you're making. No, you're not making those because they didn't license it from DC, but this is the era you're making comics, the golden age. And oh my gosh, if I could go back and buy some of these, I would love it because then I would sell them and make a lot of money. But the concept is absolutely brilliant. You're making Golden Age comics and it works. Now, when we go into the board game layout or the game board layout, it also works because it is a worker placement game and there are clear spaces to place workers. If you're going to do a worker placement game, you absolutely should make sure that it's clear where you can place workers. Now, that sounds silly. It sounds like it's well, duh. But there are a lot of games that don't. And you go, oh, I forgot I could do that action. Oh, even the game that I really liked, White Castle on the cruise, has a space up in the top right of the board where you go, oh, yeah, I totally forgot I could have just gone there. Having a space delineated to where you can place a worker is key and crucial. So that gets a 7 for me, game board layout. Now, why I give it a 7 is because I absolutely hate the whole map of New York or whatever it is. I think that it's strange. It doesn't feel like it should be in this game. I don't know why it happened. I get it. There's ways to get points for that and the mechanics tie in. I just don't like it. Now, when it comes to the mechanics of the game, I also give it a 7 because it's clear. You're placing a worker, you're building comics, you're getting writers, you're getting illustrators, you're getting tokens. Now, the only thing that makes me just crazy is the illustration or the inspiration tokens do not make sense because here's why. If you go there, yes, you have the offer of what's listed of those 6 tokens, but it doesn't matter because if you go there early enough, you can just take, okay, I'll take 2 of those and then I'll just get the 2 that I want. I don't see why there's the 2+2 or the 1+2 rule. And maybe I'm the one who's the problem, right? Hi, it's me. I'm the problem. It's me. For you Travis Kelce fans. But I don't understand why that's even a thing when it could be just take 4 tokens or take 2 tokens or whatever. And again, I'm sure there's mathematically something there for you. You can't just have 4 that you want. You have to take these that are offered and then the 2 that you want. Sure, whatever. Art direction, give it a 6. Now, here's why. Because there are a lot of symbols and the upgrades and things like that that just aren't super easily to in tune. Okay, well, what do I do with this? Like, what does that give me if I go here, right? You have to go back and flip through the rule book. Which brings us to the gameplay, which is, sadly for me, a 6. This hurt me because I wanted to love this game. I wanted this to be like my game of the year because I saw it at Gen Con a couple years ago. And it just wasn't. Like, there are so many things that are just seem like missteps that it doesn't feel like a completely full game yet. Now it feels like 90% full, doesn't feel like 100% full. Unlike, you play a game that you go, okay, well, I know this game was completely thought out and done. And I'm not saying they didn't think this game out. What I'm saying is once you play this, you go, wait, why do I have to do that? Or wait, why do I need to do that? Or why do I need to take that action now? Or wait, I'm spending 3 of my actions to do this one thing so I can do this one other action. There's a lot of worker placements that fall prey to this I'm going to spend boom, 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 boom actions to do this one other action. And all of these other things lead to this. And it just falls prey to that. So the last thing I'm going to ding it for, and I'm going to ding it heavily for, is the rule book. The rule book is a 2 out of 10 for me. Now, here's why. This is a worker placement Euro game. And I normally, if you would have looked at me 6 years ago, 8 years ago, when I started doing reviews and I made fun of the Twilight Imperium rulebook, I would have been like, oh my gosh, why in the world are these war game rulebooks 8.1, 8.2, 8.3? This game suffers from not having a wargaming rulebook. It really needs an 8.0, 8.1, 8.2, because there are too many times in the rulebook where it says, oh, flip to this page. Oh, flip to this page. Oh, for this rule, go to here. And it's like, no. If you're going to mention a rule, if you're going to bring it up, put it on that same page. Do not make me flip back and forth because there are multiple times throughout this entire game that we played that we're having to flip through the rule book. Now, again, maybe I'm stupid, right? I get it. I'm not the most intelligent person in the world. Really good at Trivial Pursuit and Jeopardy, but maybe it's me. But this rule book really suffered from the idea of not having all of the things referenced to a rule on the same page. And it hurts it to the point where I go, well, I just don't even care. And that's the worst thing. If a game just goes, I don't care, makes me not care. So again, it could have been overstep, could have been an oversight, could be a translation error. I don't know. I just think the rule book is one of the worst I've ever read. And it does not teach the game in a way that is understandable and easily to grasp. It reminds me of the Batman rule book. Batman Gotham City Chronicles, where you're going, what the heck am I even doing here? So all in all, that averages out to a 6.3, which we only do half steps here. So that puts it at a 6.5 for me. I wanted this game to be an 8.5. I wanted it to be a 9. It is a 6.5. And I think there are so many redeeming qualities that could be fixed in erratas and could be fixed in expansions, but it's not there yet. So if you have this game and you love this game, let me know why I'm wrong. I don't mind the heat. I'm like Jeff Jarrett. I don't mind being a heel, right? Love it. Makes me happy. I'll hit you with the guitar even. But my point is, I think this game could and should be better. It's just not there yet in its present state. So that is Age of Comics. I'm Brian Drake here on the Dice Tower. Make sure to let me know what you think about this review in the comments below. And until next time, we'll see you.